welcome to another episode of the Trash Talking and Giving Back podcast. I'm Erin-Cofiell-Barker. This is Joe Sinagra. He is my co-host. He does it all over at Myers Waste and Recycle. Joe, excited to be here. I was going to say thanks for joining us, but you don't get that thanks. I'll save that for the guests. What's been going on? What's new over there at Myers?
At Myers, we're trucking right along through the summer here and the dog days of the hot weather, but things are going in the right direction. We've been spending a lot of time talking about bears and wildlife. We have a lot of those issues, but it's okay. We're going in the right direction. But overall, things have been well.
Well, so what's worse or what's better? Let's be half full or half empty. The dog days of summer, or I don't know, what's the winter term for that? Like the polar bear days of winter.
I think if you ask our guys, they would say the dog days of summer are better because it's daylight longer. It's easier to take items off than put items on. So they're better.
I think that's what I would pick. What would you pick?
Yeah, likewise.
Sweat, you feel like you're working out, burn a few extra calories. You don't have to bundle up and not feel your fingers.
Exactly. But I did, I try to use this podcast to be honest about everything, and my life's an open book. So this week, my knee has been acting up a little bit. So a coworker told me I should try an edible. Of course, it's illegal now in Vermont. And I'll be honest that I have only done things related to edibles twice in my life as a 48-year-old person. So I go to one of our local dispensaries, explain my situation. She said, you should try gummies. Says, great. I say, okay. My wife was with me. I said, do you want to try a gummy? Sure. So I told the lady I would take two. She said it was $54. I pay the bill, and she's starting to give me the stuff. And I had this very perplexed look on my face, and my wife was standing next to me, and she turned to the lady and she said, you got to, excuse my husband. He thought when you said gummies that he was buying two gummies, not two containers of gummies. So I thought I was buying. So of course,
so I would have done the same thing. I would have been like, when you said it was $54 for two, I was like, I didn't know they're that expensive.
Yeah. So I bought 100.
She didn't at that point let you give one back.
She said, well, I can change if you want, but me, Mr. Naive Vermonter here, that I have no experience in buying anything pot related. So anyway, Erin, I was considering this podcast that I could bring you over some edibles beforehand, and we could do the show after we had a few edibles. But
well, did it work? Did it work for starters?
So I explained it. So the lovely lady who was working said, "Oh, start with 2 milligrams." So I did 2 the first night, did nothing. So no, I'm up to 15 milligrams, and it's still not doing anything. So
in one pop, 15 gummies in one pop.
Well, no, they're 2 milligrams per gummy. So last night I did 7 gummies, and nothing. So
I just instead pictured you and Vicky at home, just gorging and giggling and having a great time.
So
I like it. That's funny. I wouldn't have known how it works either. I would have. That's like when people started doing the online groceries and they'd say they need bananas, and they'd put one thinking it'd be a bunch, and then they'd literally get one banana.
Right.
Yeah. So, I love it. So our guest today is a former politician. So I'm not sure if edibles and marijuana is something that will be disclosed and discussed. But he was also a morning radio host. So many people that are listening here on the podcast will likely recognize his name or remember hearing him. And he's recently retired and enjoying the retired life. We have Kurt-Wright with us, who was on WVMT. And Kurt, I got to say, I was actually surprised and impressed. You still have that WVMT radio email as well. So retired, but you still got a little bit hanging on.
Well, let me say first, hi, good morning. Now, good afternoon, Erin and Joe. And just hearing your conversation, I was going to take a break and go over and grab a bag of potato chips because I feel the urge to have munchies. I don't know why.
Yeah. I didn't have any of the good side. I was expecting to take them and I would have all the great side effects. I would fall asleep great, be able to eat all of the chocolate and everything. It's done nothing. So,
Joe, you take it easy on those.
Well, I'm with you there, Kurt. Absolutely.
But again, just this discussion has me wanting a bag of chips in front of me. So I need some munchies. But yes, Erin, I did just about a month ago. I retired, but I do still have the VMT email address because I'm going to be doing some filling in for them after an appropriate amount of time away when the new host take time off or whatever. I'll be filling in sometimes. So
do you find yourself checking that email regularly, or do you do a good job of saying, I don't need to worry about the day-to-day stuff? Or do they not send you all of the day-to-day stuff?
I check it regularly, but nobody contacts me anymore. I mean, my boss Ken told me, like, Kurt, you used to be somebody, now you're nobody. So, which sort of is verified by nobody's contacting me. You're the first people I've heard from in a month.
Oh, has it maybe been a little nice?
What's that?
Has it maybe been a little bit nice to relax?
I don't have to. I got up at 4:00 in the morning for the show. So it's while I miss doing the show because I did love doing the show. I do not miss getting up at 4:00 in the morning. So yes, I am getting to sleep in and clean the garage out. First time it's been done in a while. That was badly needed.
So, Kurt, one of the other things you did for so long was you served, your community both as a city councilor and as a state rep, and you recently retired from both. The question I always have for people like yourself who served, you started in the 90s and went through, how much it changed and the negativity. I can remember coming to Burlington City Council meetings in the late 90s where there was the progressives and the Democrats and Republicans, but for the most part, everybody got along and you heard each other out. And now it seems like in Montpelier and Washington, you're a Republican, you're a Democrat, you hate each other, there's fight back and forth. So, you must have saw that change over the years. And it's just, I almost want to say it's almost sad how it's happened.
Well, to be honest, I couldn't stand most of the people I served with. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But I will just say, Joe, when you said that I stepped down from politics, I stepped down involuntarily. They beat me. So after 18 years in the legislature, I lost my last election. It's, I was like I'm a Republican, and I was kind of like the last Republican standing in Burlington. I was the last Republican on the city council. I was the last Republican that served in the House from Burlington. So I'm kind of the last one standing in Burlington. There are none on the city council now, and there are no Republicans from Burlington in the legislature, in the House anymore. So, but I have talked to a lot of people to get back to your question. I have talked to a lot of people that serve now in Montpelier, and they do say that it's different than it used to be, that there's not the collegiality, although we had our moments. I got to be honest. I don't want to pretend like, everything was great when I was there, but there's always politics, but a lot of people that serve there now tell me that it's different, that there's kind of a new class that feel like they want it to be their way, sort of the old phrase, their way or the highway. Mm-hmm. So it's from that angle, it's a little different, but I have to say there's always, when you serve in a body like the city council in Burlington, which is a hotbed of politics, or in the legislature, I don't want to pretend like that we were pure and there was no politics involved, because there was.
Okay.
But I do think things are a little different now, and of course on a national basis, we're probably more polarized than we've ever been.
So I should know the answer to this, but I don't. But when you lost, as you say, I'm assuming this was a while ago. So
why do you have to bring that up again, Erin?
We can talk about it now. Well, I have two questions related to that. The first one, though, is that when you switched over to do the radio show? So then are you able to look back on it as like a hidden blessing and you actually found this other thing you really enjoyed doing? But the second one is, I always wonder when you see these like political races and then it's like, right, you're used to seeing like kids and teenagers lose their sporting events or student council president. But when like, you know, grown professional people have their heart in this thing and then they don't win, it's like, I'm always like, oh, how does that get handled? Like, it's like, don't talk to dad for a few days, guys. Like that has to be hard.
I mean, I cried for about a month. But, no, let's see, thinking back to that, I still was on the city council when I lost for the legislature. And let's see. Yeah, it wasn't too long after I lost the race for the legislature the last time, which was 2018, November of 2018, that I landed the job with the radio station. So I guess you could look at it that way because I mean, I loved serving in the legislature. I loved serving on the city council. I loved being involved in all the big issues of the day for my constituents, for my neighborhood. But I also loved doing the radio show. So it was a new adventure. So I guess you could say in that sense it was. I mean, because it did, I wouldn't have, I might not have found it at that particular time if I'd continued on in the legislature.
Right.
But it was, you know, I've been there 18 years. So I was getting close to it being time anyway. Just, you know, it's the old phrase, get off the stage before they yank you off.
Yeah.
Well,
in that case, they yanked me off.
but Kurt, I was going to say, you know, we're both big baseball fans. It's similar to 99.9% of the people are told they're done playing baseball. Very few say they're done. So I think that's similar to politics. Most people in politics are told they're no longer in politics rather than retire on their own wish. There was of course, if there was a Montpelier Hall of Fame, you would be in it, Kurt, obviously. But I think
I don't know about that, but I do. Yeah, I hear you on baseball. I think in baseball, it rarely happens that they retire on their own. Derek Jeter did it the smart way, and Mariano Rivera and some of my Yankee players. But in politics, some are smarter than me and know when to retire and get off the stage. But I appreciate that.
So it's actually a good comparison because it's true. And maybe in football, they retire maybe more because of like injuries and medical. Baseball is one like you could just keep playing and playing.
Well, that's the thing. In baseball and football, they never know when to walk away because they're usually making big bucks. I can't say that was the case. So that was not my motivation. But in sports, whether football or baseball or basketball or whatever, I think it's very tough for somebody because that's what they've done. That's all they do is play baseball or football. And it's hard for a lot of people in sports to walk away from that kind of competition and to walk away from the money that they're making. So it really is, Joe's right. It really is rare that they know when to walk away. There's a few that have done that, like, Big Papi with the Red Sox and Derek Jeter and a few others. But for the most part, you're right. Most often you can't rip it away from them.
See, Erin was a Division I diver in college, and she still dives today. So, she hasn't been told she can't. So, she's still.
And she would have no reason to stop doing that.
This is right. I did a Erin diving at the fair, actually. So
no one is going to tell Erin to stop doing that.
No one tells Erin what to do ever. Just ask my husband.
Okay,
there you go.
I've seen videos of Jack telling you what to do. So, but we'll move along from that. So
I'm guessing he tried unsuccessfully.
So, Kurt, I want to talk a little bit about Burlington. You were on the council and still involved throughout the whole Square Mall demo and the rebuilding and everything. So, Myers is doing the trash, all the demo removal from the project, and then the construction. But the question I have for you is, the first building is set to be opening here in less than a month. And looking at the rents, $6,000 for the top floor apartment, average studio is going to be $2,700 a month. I know we have a housing shortage.
Are you talking City Place?
City Place, yes.
Yeah.
So my question to you is, as somebody that lives and breathes in Burlington, is there going to be, in your opinion, will we have the market in Burlington for those types of rents and those types of facilities? It just seems like big numbers.
It is, and of course, a certain percentage of the units have to be affordable. That's the way it works in Burlington. So they have to have a certain percentage. But I am confident that the developers know what they're doing, and that there is a market for those type of units. And I think that there will be. I'm excited by this project starting. It's supposed to open up officially, I think, in August. If you know how these things work, it was going to be June, it was going to be July, and I think it's August. It was a long and winding road for this project, probably unlike, well, a lot of projects do work that way, but this one in particular was really a long, winding road. But I do think it's going to add vitality to downtown Burlington, badly needed vitality. It's going to bring more people. I do think the units will fill up. They're going to have some good businesses on the bottom floor. I have taken a tour of the building and been up to the top. I have to say I was a little scared going up on the what do they call it? The work elevator? That's not the right term, but when you're on the outside of the building and the thing's sort of shaking with the wind blowing, and I was trying to pretend to Dave Farrington that I wasn't scared, but I was like, "Are we up to the top yet? Can we get off?" but I was a little nervous. But it's and this was a few months ago, and it was still being developed, and it's almost finished now. But the views are just absolutely spectacular up there, obviously. Yeah. One side you see the lake, but even on the other side, just looking down on the whole city. But it's going to be, I am convinced that it's going to work. It's going to get filled up. And I'm also excited to see that the other building is starting to go up now in what they were referring to as, a lot of people were convinced this project would never happen because of all the problems that it had. But kudos to the local developers, Dave Farrington and Senecal and Ireland, for bringing this home. And I think it's going to, the more people that are brought to downtown, that are living downtown and are shopping and going to the restaurants, because we just got the sad news today that Nectar's is done in Burlington. That is when I'm talking about this as a good thing. I wish they'd been able to hang on until this happened, but obviously it's a bad sign of the times, seeing a long iconic staple of downtown Burlington not coming back.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, right, the high rent, and obviously it's, going to be very bougie, and I would think will, justify that ticket. I think having the hospital just up the road will help because, Joe, the folks like you and I don't have a career where that's what we can afford, but some of those doctors at the hospital, like, I'm sure that they can, or they maybe live really far away and now they've got like a downtown place they can stay. But also I think it'll bring that like level of people to Burlington to spend their disposable income in the restaurants which are struggling, in the stores which are struggling, and also just, I hope, help the overall vibe of downtown because it's kind of had a bad rap lately, which really like drives me bonkers because it's a really great place to go.
Well, absolutely, Anna. And you see radio personalities like Howie Carr. They have these big $1 million mansions, and Rush Limbaugh when he retired before he passed away. So, Kurt, you're a retired media personality. Maybe you're on that Howie Carr, Rush Limbaugh.
Yeah. I wish I made it big enough to have salaries like they had. I would have one of the penthouses in the new building. But yeah, I won't be able to afford that either. But I do think it's going to be successful. And Erin, what you just said about the reputation downtown, it is sad. I live in Burlington. I've lived here for a long time. I love Burlington, and there's a lot of great things in Burlington. But the leaders in Burlington can't stick their head in the sand or elsewhere about the problems downtown because they're real. If you start losing the tourist dollars in Burlington because they see people shooting up on the street or what have you, or just people engaging in antisocial behavior, to put it mildly, because I've seen it myself many times. And it can scare you, and it can make you not want to come back downtown. So the people that are running the show in Burlington now, from the city council to the mayor, have really got to get a handle on this. It's a great city, but we have to make sure the tourists keep coming back to Burlington. And it'd be nice if the locals wanted to go back downtown too. I had lunch at one of the outdoor cafes just a few weeks ago, and it was great. And it was a nice day, but the number of people downtown was nothing like it used to be. And we got to get it back to that.
Yeah, absolutely. Kurt, you're involved in over your 20 plus years of public service, so many important moments in Vermont. So, maybe talk a little bit about some of the ones most memorable, or maybe you're most proud of from your time in Montpelier and in Burlington.
Well, one of the things that I'm most proud of in Burlington that I had at least a small part in was the sort of restoration and refurbishing the bike path in Burlington. Oh. I quite a number of years ago, the bike path had really fallen into disrepair. It was the fault of all of us that just had, I would see rollerbladers on the bike path, and I was like, I don't know how they're even doing it. It was, it was heaving up in different places. So I put out a resolution at the finance board at the time saying, we need to dedicate more money to fixing the spots that really need fixing. Chapin Spencer at the time was the leader of locomotion. Now he's the DPW director, but he called me and said, I think we need to do more than that. And when we talked, I agreed. I said, and we started what was called the Burlington Bike Path Task Force, which led to, and I want to give credit to Mayor Moreau Weinberger, because we could come up with the idea and have a task force and come up with, ideas and funding solutions, et cetera, but somebody's got to actually do it. And to Moreau's credit, he brought it home. And so I had a part in that, which every time I go on the bike path now, it's been widened, repaved. There's pause points where you can stop and look at the beautiful Lake Champlain. And so it's really been turned back into a world-class bike path. We also made some improvements not enough improvements, mind you, but we made some improvements in the permit system in Burlington, made some of it more into a one-stop shop instead of go here and get a permit and go back over here and do something else. And we made some changes there. And so there's a number of things that I'm proud of my involvement. We tried to keep, I also looked out for the taxpayers always in Burlington, tried to keep things under control because it's a beautiful city, but it's not cheap. And Montpelier, tons of big issues over the years. There's one that was very controversial in 2009, which was frankly same-sex marriage. And I cast one of the deciding votes in favor of that. And some people were angry at me for a long time, and some people were happy with me. But I can't deny that was a very controversial vote at the time, and it was decided by one vote.
Ooh. There's the one.
Well, anybody that voted on the
they could call themselves the one. That's fine. That's the fine print.
I was one of the last.
That's the fine print.
Right, and I was one of the last people to cast the vote because my last name being W, it's alphabetical, right? So I was,
That's a funny politics thing there, to like someone with the last name Z on their platform when they run can say, if it comes down to one person, you're going to want me at the very end.
You mean like Dave Zuckerman, maybe?
Like, sure. Like Dave
he was one of the few that was left after me.
It's a funny stuff.
But I was honored to serve in Montpelier. There were so many big issues over the years. And I had to remind myself sometimes driving there when I would see the Golden Dome, like what a privilege it was to represent my district and my neighborhood there, because that's such a historic, beautiful building.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we play this Trashy or Not. You ready for Trashy or Not, Joe?
I am. So, Kurt, trashy or not, I always ask a question. Usually it's Erin, but with you coming on this week, I know you have experience. So, trashy or not, you're out on trash day. So it's the day your trash is going to be picked up, and you're out taking your lovely dog for a walk around your neighborhood, and you clean up after your dog, as I know you both do. But
are we supposed to do that?
Well, not in Burlington.
Now you tell me.
In Williston. So you clean up after your dog and you have your poop bag. Trashy or not, throwing that poop bag in your neighbor's tote because it is trash day.
Throwing it into my neighbor's trash?
Correct. So you're out for a walk.
The bins are at the road. So like rather than carrying it back to your house and someone else's bin is out, you just drop it in.
At first,
you're 6 or 8 blocks away from your house, and it's trash day, so you know the trash is going to be emptied later this morning or in the afternoon. Do you carry the poop bag back?
At first, I was going to say trashy, but now on reflection, I think that it's. In fact, you know what? I did it just the other day. I did it just. We were out on a walk. We were actually walking downtown, and she did her business. And we picked it up, and I said, you know what? We were going to walk to UVM and put it in one of the big dumpsters. Yeah. And I said, you know what? Somebody's got their trash bin out right here. It's going to be picked up. What's the problem? And so I say, not trashy.
I'm going to agree, not trashy, but I feel like a lot of people think trashy, and that frustrates me because to me, it's just being like efficient and logical and resourceful. But I always do fear that like, the little old lady is like staring out of her window and like, why are you putting your dog's poop in my trash? But like, who cares? They're about to empty it. Like, what does it matter?
So what if it wasn't trash day? What if the trash has already been emptied?
No, definitely not.
Okay.
Yeah, then it'd be trashy.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Only if the bins are at the road.
Right.
Waiting to be emptied.
And I swear to God, that's what happened when I did it.
So we had this.
As far as you know.
So I witnessed this happen in my neighborhood, and it was trash day, and my wife and I start having this conversation, and I said, what you guys did, what? No big deal. And so Vicky was adamantly opposed to it, and I went online, and it is a big topic online, and we're all in minority. A majority of the people said you can't do that because the smell.
When the bin is out, but does the internet classify like only when the bin is at the road?
Yeah, did they?
Well, no, of course. And, it's the internet. So you take everything, if you believe everything you read on the internet, Kurt and I, then, you're in trouble.
Well, I think that's a key. I think that's a key, though, because I'm being hypocritical. But when we lived in a condo that had like a community trash, shed, we would get annoyed because our pod of 3 units at the time didn't have a dog. And other people with dogs would then put the poo in our trash bin, not on trash day, just like, oh, I walked by. But then now our trash area would stink, and like none of us should have had to deal with that.
Right. I think
hi. Well, where's mine? Oh, mine must be upstairs. Hi, puppy.
Now, I don't remember this girl. I remember, was it Jeter? Who was your pup that passed away recently? Not recently, but a couple years ago.
It was Tori.
A Yankee name, right?
Yeah, Joe Tori.
Tori. Yeah, there you go.
She was named Tori.
What's this one named?
This is Casey.
Casey.
And so I think those people that are online saying it's trashy, don't do that. I say, lighten up.
Absolutely.
Lighten up, Francis. Come on. We're just putting a bag of poop in your trash. It's going to be picked up later. What's the problem?
That's what I say.
And
I have to point out your dog having a human name because that's like a running joke on the podcast.
And she's definitely the brains of this operation. And so I mean, now people that don't pick up their poop.
Oh, that's even worse.
When they poop in your yard as they're walking by. That is trash.
I have many positive characteristics, but I also have many negative. So one of my negative is I'm very petty. So I've had a neighbor dog do their business on our lawn. I collect it and I brought it to his stoop and left it.
Well, then I'm gonna cycle this back to recycling and waste real quick. Is there ever a time or a world where is there a recycling thing that could be done with right? If all the dog poo got put in the same place, does that turn into something ever or just straight trash?
No, so Green Mountain Compost in Williston used to accept dog waste for compost. And they have since now gone away from it last year. So they now don't want it because of all the other stuff that's involved in both human and animal waste.
Fair. See, we brought it right back around to Myers Waste and Recycle. Fun fact, For everyone to learn today, there will never be huge piles of dog poop getting put into a bin to be picked up outside of your house.
There you go.
All right, with that, I think we're going to wrap things up on this episode of the Trash Talking and Giving Back podcast. Thank you again to Kurt-Wright for taking a little time out of his retirement to join us, and we look forward to seeing you all.
What else do I have to do, Erin?
I got plenty of honey-do items for you here at our house.
As I know you're getting ready to go, but just as my boss, Ken Barlow, said to me, Kurt-Wright, who used to be somebody.
Oh, you're still somebody, Kurt.
You always be somebody though, Kurt. We didn't even get to talk much baseball, so we'll have to have you back on.
Anytime.
All right, like us, share us, subscribe us, and we'll see you guys another week.